All right, what's up, folks? How you doing tonight? Thank you again for joining us for another night of Cyber Shadow Tournament goodness. Tonight we're gonna have SpaceNarc versus Vertz505. This is going to be our second race of round one. You can see the next two races of round one listed there in the upcoming races section. So I am going to introduce to you our two commentators tonight. I'm going to switch this over. I'm going to get the runners prepared, and we'll get going. All right, so I have Nori and Turkey with us, who are going to be our commentators tonight. How are you guys doing today?
Not too bad yourself, sir.
Hanging in there.
Excellent. I'm doing well, thanks. I will let you guys kind of intro yourselves, and I will let the runners know that we're good to kick off.
Okay, so welcome to the second match of round one. I am TKY, better known as Turkey, being joined today by Norimaki SR. So we're here today to bring you some more Cyber Shadow between SpaceNarc and Vertz505. So should be a good match. We will see how it all goes. Cyber Shadow, very dangerous run. Anything can happen at any time.
Yeah, this run definitely is brutal, where a metal slip up at any given point can lead to some pretty time-consuming death cycles, basically. We're going to hope to see neither one of these runners fall into those traps. But looking forward to an extremely good match between these two. Vertz, relatively newer runner, I think, to the run by comparison to some of the other crew that are currently in this tournament, but has definitely made some leaps and bounds in preparations for this, and looks like we're off.
We are so just kicking it out, and yeah, but as mentioned, I believe well, I'm not too sure what point Vertz came in, but as of recent, he's been lopping literal minutes off of his personal best. Narc rather recently also joining the sub 1 hour club. So both runners been putting the time in preparing for this matchup. So hopefully all those preparations will come to fruition as they progress through, as enter chapter 1. So this run is essentially a run of two halves. The front half is more technical platforming, how well you know the segments, where your platforming skills come into play, where you jump, how you slice, all the works. The second half we'll touch up on a bit more when we get to it, but in the meantime, welcome to the beginning. So as I say, not much going to be going on realistically, just going to be moving forward, take slashes where and can, maybe taking advantage of some ledge kicking, dependent. The idea of a ledge kick, kicking at the last moment off of a ledge, saves roughly 3 frames of time. It's very minimal, but over the course of a run, it does add up to like a couple of seconds here and there.
Yeah, it's a very tricky one, though, because some of those ones that you want to take and put you into a dangerous spot, but it makes it advantageous, like in that example of using the damage boost to get through that guy rather than trying to break through him. Gives you a little better opportunity to get the damage boost properly to get on by. So both of them doing very well so far in this first stage, staying neck and neck. No major hiccups thus far, and meeting these platform cycles without any concerns here.
Indeed, on that front, so Cyber Shadow is kind of a throwback to the games of old, stuff like the 80s and 90s difficult style of gameplay. However, it does have modern aesthetics. There is no live system, so there's no worries of game over, and there are a number of checkpoints through the run. So, in general, as long as they keep going on, they will be able to finish the run. Of course, the big problem here, and it happens to all of us, any death could essentially cost seconds upon seconds of the run. So ideally we won't see too many, if any at all, but of course that will come as they go. I mean, with this game, very difficult run to pull off, very easy to lose time.
Yeah, very much so. As Vertz kind of just displayed that a little bit, took a damage boost there, or damage that knocked him off cycle a little bit, had to wait an extra round for those platforms there, as Narc's taking on the first quote-unquote boss of this run, the Crusher. It's not too threatening as long as you stay on your toes. Get your slashes in as quickly as possible. It's a really good, solid fight there by Narc on Crusher.
Indeed, Vertz almost following through. Thought you just missed out there. Pretty much the only thing you need to know with Smasher is just whatever you do not get onto him, because if he does smash you, it's an instant death.
Yeah, there's
and that could be quite a painful thing.
Save you there.
In the meantime, Narc now hitting the the first major rooms when we come into call into cycle base. There's actually 3 cycles our runners are trying to meet within this room. First one is just coming up, hitting off that platform. Got the first one nicely on Narc's end. Second one is right here to be able to jump over to that platform to meet the rising platform there. Hit the checkpoint. And the final one is a little trickier. They need to take a bit of a tight damage boost and turn at the right moment. There is a bit of a risk factor, because if you end up getting caught and getting knocked back down, it could lead to a death. Narc did take a little bit of a knock, wisely choosing to just forgo that cycle and just take the safer pathway to ensure that he'll be okay. But unfortunately, taking a little bit of a knockdown there. Again, like with a number of parts of these runs, it's a case of one little mistake could change the entirety of how everything operates, and that can be a dangerous thing to deal with.
Yeah.
Looks like he's recovering it very well, though.
Yeah, these rust flies are actually kind of the most annoying parts between chapters 1 and 2, just because they do like to get right in your way. And as you know, they kind of demonstrated there, you know, once they do that, it's hard to recover from what they do to you, especially when you're trying to go fast and meet these cycles.
Indeed,
Right,
on there. So our opening stage boss, Operator. So the idea is to try and get close in, but not quite too close. You're looking to avoid that first projectile. The second one you can tank. Moving forward to get a few more slashes. Turn and slash in whilst in damage phase. And if you can get enough slices in, you can just about catch him just as he finishes jumping. Narc just being a little short, but managed to clip his toenails off there, so he won't lose very much for that. Very nice fight.
Yeah, it was a really good job by Narc. We'll see what Vertz does here, as Narc will be getting his first upgrade of the run. So he's actually now got a piece of equipment called the Shuriken, and you'll notice he's got a little blue bar now for SP for his special attacks. And every time he throws the Shuriken, it'll cost him 1 pip. So he's now got a little bit of ammunition to get things at distance, and he's going to use that to some great effect here. As we're going to see how Vertz's apparator fight kind of finishes off here. Decent damage there. A little bit high on that. He may have to watch out for the big shuriken here. Yeah, he's going to get behind him.
Wisely getting behind him, and nicely done. Puts him down. Alright, so in the meantime... Oh, go on.
Yeah, we were talking about cycles in this. A lot of this run, especially at the beginning, is all about meeting cycles. And right now, that's what Narc is working on here. He's definitely skipped out on the additional SP upgrade just to make sure that he's going to be able to get through these. So he kind of knows where things are going to be. Ooh, that rust fly being a little trolly, though. Ow. Ooh, that debris hit was not ideal. This could make this fly room very scary.
Indeed, probably take it a little safer, because every time you hit the big main bug, he spits out a lot of tiny bugs, and that can be a right nightmare. Nicely recovered though, got a good set of damage on it. And there's one of the first little bits of RNG in this run. There's very little of it, but with that bug room, the big bug itself can actually take anywhere from 3 to 5 strikes, and it's randomized within each run as to how many strikes it's actually going to be. Looking to go for the laser skip, taking intentional damage there, following around, just copping around the corner. Nicely done. Gets through that laser skip, no problem.
Vertz actually on his side took a nice little ledge clip there and went around on the left-hand side of that vertical before the first save point. That's very interesting. I'll see many runners do that. We talk about ledge clipping. It's those like thin platforms that you're able to drop down through, but if you jump just at the right height and then turn back into the platform just right, it'll allow you to actually get up on that ledge, so even though the game wouldn't normally let you do that. It can only be done at the 60 FPS level. If you run at 144 Hertz, this game has that ability. You're not able to do that little ledge clipping, but you do get slight advantage in that you can swing your sword just a wee bit faster. So it's kind of like runner's choice on what perk they would like to have in their run. But I think most people run pretty much the 60 FPS.
Yeah, in general, I believe 60 FPS might just save you a few more seconds in general, but having that additional sword speed for bosses does make them more comfortable to deal with. But luckily, for the meantime, Narc's going to have a little bit of a rest break here with the elevator, the first auto scroller of the run. Not much you can really do. Ideally, you want to take out as many of the fly pods as you can, simply because if you don't, they will rest on the elevator and they will get penetrated by these instant kill spikes that are all around the field, and then they'll just flutter off and around and try and knock you into spikes. That can be a bad thing. In the meantime, Vert's dealing with Laser Brain, using the blade extend to be able to get some additional damage in, thanks to its additional range. Through the run of collecting these things known as Essence, which is essentially this game's version of currency, which you can use at individual checkpoints to purchase health refills, SP refills, or particular item upgrade, or temporary upgrade, which is indicated by the 3 bars of health that is right next to the, or to the left of that said item. Once you take the 3 hits, you lose the item for the time being, and then you carry on. Pretty much. Elevator done now, so now coming to the end portion of Chapter 2. Again, this is one more cycle that is looking to meet here. It's right at the end of the segment. Just want to keep as much more momentum as you can. And try not to get too wrecked by everything. But then again, that's usually a common thing for the entirety of the run, to be fair.
Yeah, you make one little thing. Like if you can practice till you know the cows come home, but if you go off of what you've practiced, you'll just start running into things because nothing will be in the position that your muscle memory says should be there.
Indeed. So Narc just coming up and across, grabs the safety health. It's a wise choice. And this is the cycle we're referring to. I believe he may have missed at least one of the cycles, but he's there, no problem. The trash elevator that'll lead him up to the stage 2 boss. Scrambler. And again, Scrambler is another boss where you want to get in close. This is mainly just because as long as you get in close, he will always follow the exact same script through the fight. As soon as you start to try and move away from him, that script can get jumbled up quite a bit, and he can be quite the hassle. So try and get in close, get enough damage, he'll hop back as his helmet deploys. And that takes him down, but he's not quite done yet. Jumps out of his big suit and tries to have one last-ditch effort at destroying you, but Narc is not having any of that, as Mini Scrambler makes a run for it, and he's ready to get his next upgrade, Rising Fire.
I wonder where he gets off to after that. Never see him again, unfortunately.
Game of poker, maybe?
Maybe he goes to the party room. There's always that.
I wouldn't mind the party room. It sounds nicer than the rest of this run.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, speaking of that, Chapter 3, this is kind of where things spike up a little bit. I wouldn't say it's like the hardest part of the run, but there's a lot on the table that's going on here, and definitely want to keep obviously your cycles going. We're going to see that very soon here in the subway part. So Narc's definitely going to be looking to try to keep his movement very clean in one particular part to avoid any major challenges, and a lot of it's going to be based on clean damage boosting to make sure that he maintains the cycle through these rather toxic green goo bubbles that drop out of the ceiling. That'll be coming up here in this next segment here. So he's going to be wanting to damage boost around these big little tank things because it takes a while to kill them. They actually have quite a bit of HP. Nice little ledge grab there. Looks like he's on pace to be able to do this. This is the cycle he's looking for. Right underneath, fight that one, and easy.
Nicely done, and Vert's doing nicely well on his Scrambler. Managed to manipulate Scrambler actually to hop back over, so he didn't have to worry about gauging the distance that he jumps back to be able to get the optimal damage in. He was just able to stand where he was and allow him to get into position and just completely finish him off. So nicely done on both parts. Both runners off to a really good start, to be fair. No deaths at this point that I've noticed.
Yeah, been clean for both of them. You know, it looks like Vertz has taken a few extra safeties here, but I can't blame him. Things kind of got a little haywire in some places, so it's always safe, or it's always faster to not die in most cases. So that'd be the best way to go about it.
Yeah, indeed. I'll generally say the average checkpoint, or average death after checkpoint in a general run will probably cost a runner on average about 30 seconds. There are some instances where you may take a death directly after hitting a checkpoint, and that's obviously not so bad, but more times than not, if you end up with taking death just before the next checkpoint, that can cost you up to a minute, or half a minute to a minute, dependable. Okay, both runners continuing on, but Bert's going to be entering his subway in a moment, looking to take the damage boosts to get through. Most of these big mechs take at least 5 or 6 hits to take down, so it just ends up being quicker to just tank your way through. As well for Narc, on his way forward, he's going to meet his mid-stage boss in a moment in the form of a very angry tank.
Yeah, speaking of tanks. This boss is deceptively annoying in the way that it operates. Just, there's a lot of bullets flying around with this guy once we kind of bust open his top here. And some of these bullets, if you don't manage them properly, can be a problem after the fight. There's been a couple of runners that have seen one of those bullets, but not until it was too late when they committed to a jump and that bullet was right there and knocked them back in the fire. But Narc having none of that, he basically stood there and tanked every bullet just to make sure he wasn't going to run into that problem.
Yeah, I've definitely had it happen to me before. It completely confused the hell out of me first. Alright, so doing good so far. Unfortunately, didn't know Vertz unfortunately taking a bit of a death there. Just going to take a little safety, get his health back up for the next section. Combination of tank damage and potential ledge grabbing if he chooses to. Looks like he's getting through without any real issue. Unfortunately missed that ledge grab there, looking to get the second one. Nicely caught. Then he'll be making his way through the up and around. Narc missing the snipe, unfortunately, but doesn't look like he had any hassle with him, though. So, fortunately, the snipe isn't a thing that you must get, but it definitely helps.
Yeah, it definitely does. That second bombardier thing, it'll kill you if you just try to YOLO it. Like, you could probably get through the first one okay, but the second one will knock you back into an instant death pit if you're not very careful there. I don't know. That snipe is super tight, though. It feels like it shouldn't be, but you think you got it, it'll just sneak under that first guy, and then you have to kind of play it a little bit more safe. But Narc handling it very well when that occurred there.
Nice, making his last pathway through just before reaching the stage 3 boss in the form of the Biohunter. He's also going to be looking to pick up his next item that he would like to use. Now, stuff like items and health build-ups are always tied specifically to the checkpoint that they activated on, so it cannot be accessed on a separate checkpoint. But you're picking up one of my personal favourites, the Swag Blade. It's essentially a buzzsaw on a chain. And throughout this fight,
nod back to the... Oh, sorry.
Go on.
No, I was going to say, it's just a nice little throwback to the original Ninja Gaiden and the swag shuriken thing that they do there, but this one actually, you don't have to like move specifically to do it, but it does a decent amount of damage to the Biohunter there. Narc handling that first phase very well, maybe missing a little bit of damage before he left, but should be in a good spot here. Yeah,
nicely done. Managed to recruit that. Ideally, they'd like to finish the fight where he's in the middle, but that can be a little troublesome sometimes. But the idea of having that Swag Blade is mainly for phase 1, simply because Biohunter spends most of his time in the air, so they can use that to get the damage in, and when he lands on the floor, take that advantage to score even more damage before the second phase commences. Gets through nice. He's looking to carry the Swag Blade onwards. He'll be approaching the first dojo section of the run. It's like little challenge rooms that you go through in order to acquire an upgrade. That'll help you progress forward, but you can use the Swag Blade because on the way back out there's a bomb that you need to detonate in order to escape. So by using the Swag Blade you could detonate it on your way down, saving you roughly 3 to 4 seconds having to wait for it later. And that looks good from what I could tell, and
yeah,
boom.
Yeah. Saw the shake there. He should be good there. Yeah, that's really specific movement to keep the Swag Blade swinging that far back and forth, even though you don't have a lot of room to operate in water. If you jump at the right time, it seems to keep the momentum, and Narc did a very, very good job of making sure that he did that properly, so he didn't have to burn like a piece of SP to just kick it up, because we got Rising Fire, which is hold down on the D-pad and attack, and then there's like an upward strike that shoots fire. But he's trying to keep some level of SP, especially without having picked up the additional one earlier.
Indeed. The only risk then is whether or not you can control the Swag Blade enough during the monkey climb in order to basically just hope it doesn't hit any of the crates that you want to use to make your way off. Sorry, excuse me.
Narc did a really good job there. Ends with a little bit of swag, even though he's going to be down 1 SP. He's well practiced in it, so he doesn't need to worry about having it.
in the
Show
meantime,
it off a little bit there.
I was going to say, Vertz was on his way to meet up with Biohunter. Unfortunately, took a grenade to the face. I believe he did get the snipe, though, earlier, so he's been having some decent executions, just some fortunate position in there. But, I mean, this is the brutality of Cyber Shadow. No matter what point of the run, and how, as Nori mentioned, no matter how well practiced you are, it could just take one little thing to knock everything out of position, and then it becomes an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
Alright, so for the meantime, we got Narc entering and dealing with Chapter 4. This is where I generally would like to say, this is pretty much where the run really kicks it up a gear. Chapter 3 starts to challenge you for the experience and the knowledge you got from your first 2 stages. This likes to kick you in the teeth sometimes.
Yeah, there's
everything
a lot
hits
going
harder.
on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, everything hits harder, like Turkey said. There's a lot of cycles that you're looking to deal with, but the game starts throwing so much. And the ways to die increase. I guess would be the best way to put it here. A lot of spikes, everywhere in this particular section, and then there's some just really annoying enemies like those laser ones that Narc was handling there very well. They're just placed all over the place, and it gets to be a thing in some rooms.
Pretty much. Right, so that's on his Biohunter battle now. He'll use the swag blade to his advantage, score as much damage as he can in order to take him down and hopefully get him before he flies off. Oh, just unfortunately missed out there. Luckily, it's not going to cost him too much. Just have to reposition and nicely caught him there before he got the laser off. So he can enter phase 2, going to try and manipulate the swag blade in a way that he's happy with. Knock it straight in, start getting in, dealing damage as much as he can. And it should be pretty much done any second now.
Oh no! Biohunter says
right
no, not today. Yeah, he got him at the end there. That's unfortunate. Like, if the fight goes on that long and you're not practiced in how to deal with it at that particular point, it's an adjustment. And I feel like that fight he didn't get a lot of damage up front, which definitely didn't help him. But looks like he's going to be a little bit more under control here if he can get the swag blade to do. There we go.
Yep, gets him off nicely. Narc's dealt with his first little cyber area. Unfortunately, there's only like 3 instances of it in the any percent run where you've got a little cyber section, which is essentially your way of opening certain doors. And found out not too long ago, actually, that you don't need to hit both switches in the first, and for some reason, you just hit the first switch and leave, and the door's open. It's great.
Yeah, a lot of us used to spend all of our time going to the other side to hit the other thing, because, that's what the game teaches you, and you're like, yeah, let's do that. And then someone's like, hey, by the way, did you know you only have to hit the one on the right and then leave? What? And it's funny, because actually, I had run into a situation in my early days of learning this where I had hit the right-hand switch but then died afterwards. And I went back thinking, oh, I'm going to have to do the cyber room again. And the cyber room was deactivated. I was like, wait a minute. I thought it was maybe just a glitch, but no, it's kind of the way that one's programmed, at least for now.
Nicely performed there by Narc. One of the tighter cycles to meet in the entire run. Looks scary as all hell, but when you build a bit of confidence for it, I'm not going to say it's simple, but it doesn't feel so bad afterwards. But it is definitely a risky thing. Just one slight positioning off, and you end up in the spikes, and that's going to send you a good 30-40 seconds back to the last checkpoint.
Yeah, it's a big one. That is a scary, scary strat.
Very much so.
Vert's getting ready to do his climb for the monkey here to get his wall grab. And Narc dealing with some electric jellyfish. These guys are really annoying. And oh man, that stupid. Yep. Okay, so those dragon snakes, whatever the heck you want to call them, they are like the biggest trolls. And they just know where you want to go and get right in your way. Narc dealing with that one pretty well though.
Yep, he's very aware of what that can do, and saw he went up, so he just went right, just pogo position, and then just turn and take the tank, and just let himself just squeeze in the gap. So he'll be all good. Vert's finishing it off his climb nicely, and gets his upgrade of the wall climb. As we've always saw with Narc, that allows you to stick to the walls and kick off. Nice classic ninja apparel. Nice fun thing to use as well, to be fair.
I feel like I should have been able to do that since the beginning, huh?
Speaking of fun, Narc's got the most RNG boss in the run.
Oh gosh, this one, yeah. I was going to say, how do you feel about RNG? Because yeah, this boss is a thing. You can kind of manipulate him a little bit, but whether he comes up to the left or right is completely up to him. And he usually goes for the side that gets you the least amount of chance to hit him for whatever reason. These platforms don't help much either, in the fact that they are a little RNG on kind of like when they show up. Not necessarily so much the where, but it's more of the when. And sometimes they don't want to be there when you really want to get in there and get, some damage on Mecha Dragon. Looks like Narc, if everything goes well at the end here, should be looking at a pretty comfortable 3 cycle. Oh, or not.
Oh, fortunately did not get enough mana and had a bit of a mishap with the gunshot in. Gun can do a good 4 points of damage on the dragon when hit accurately. Gets a nice quick 4 round though, so you'll take that. I mean that's just Mecha Dragon in a nutshell. I mean, when we say RNG, not the worst case of RNG that you could see in a speed run, but it's enough that it keeps you on your toes, and you need to be aware of what's going around you in order to get as much out of the fight as you can. And sometimes, as you say, you might just have a part of the arena where there's just no platform spawning, and the Mecha Dragon decides to just spawn on that side, so you can't get that Rising Fire technique to be able to deal optimal damage as best as you can. In the meantime, got the Final Fantasy Crystal and dealing with the Warriors of Light on Narc's end. Pretty much the key to this is just don't let them land on the floor. They could become a right pain.
Yeah, if they spread out, they tried to do that to Narc there at the end, but he managed that extremely well. But yeah, if they do spread out, it becomes a bit of a pain to deal with them because they tend to block a lot until they open themselves up to be hit. And, well, you can't go anywhere until they're all dead. So, eesh.
Indeed. But he's going to be carrying on. We did forget to mention about, obviously, the purchase of the gun itself. It does help within the Mecha Dragon fight, but our runner's going to want to try and carry that forward even further, because the gun can actually save a lot more time than you may initially anticipate. There's going to be several points in Chapter 5, if they can get it as far as there, where they can use it to be able to skip certain parts of the run and save a sizable amount of time. We'll touch up more on that as he approaches, but you've first got to get through this last room before the boss of the arena. And this is full of a few dangers. You can quite easily get hit. A couple of the enemies here in these jellyfish can be a little random and sometimes give you a bit of a troll. But it looks like Narc's having no real issue getting around it nicely, using that pogo to effect just to be able to get over those gaps whilst maintaining low body position. Gets through without taking a hit, as he'll now deal with the vessel defense system. Vessel defense can be done pretty much the same way every time. Idea of the fight is to be able to take out these 6 orbs first, and that will trigger the gate to activate. Score what damage you can. Get in, use Rising Fire in close quarters to just absolutely annihilate him for a nice one cycle. Unfortunately, took a couple of hits there, so he's only going to have 1 point of damage left on his gun, but at least that still gives him a chance to be able to get the gun to where he wants it to.
Yeah, it'll be if he wants to get the skip, you're going to see him probably take things a little bit more cautiously than he normally would. Chapter 5 is quite a thing, as he's about to pick up his next very important upgrade, the parry, which everyone's favorite because, it tends to work most of the time, but sometimes it chooses not to, or you think it's going to do something and it doesn't. But it's going to be extremely integral if Narc wants to try to get the skip in here to make sure he is on his parry game, as he's got to worry about a lot of projectiles coming up soon.
The parry operates it, but anyone familiar with the fighting games, if has ever played Street Fighter 3 First Strike or any of the Street Fighter 3s, it pretty much works as akin to that, where you press towards the projectile just before it hits you in order to do a parry, and you can actually hit those bullets right back at them as well to get some damage, which is something that our runners are going to look to manipulate in their favour against a number of the bosses pretty much throughout this run. So parry is a very important tool throughout the course of this run.
Indeed. Keep an eye on Narc, but I also want to keep an eye on what's going on with Vertz just to see how he's doing. Looks like he's progressing nicely through Chapter 4.
Yeah, getting through and around, going under the water there to get around that one enemy that can be a pain to deal with. Just got to manipulate through now, and just takes the enemy out. Just fair play. Just taking it a little bit safer, just to be sure. And it is, as we said, Chapter 4 is a very much a danger zone when it comes to taking a death. But so far, so good. He's going to be approaching Mecha Dragon very soon.
It looks like Narc's made it about half. Oh no, missed that platform. I was going to say he's made it about halfway through here, and unfortunate jump with the platform rotating there. Ended up falling in the spikes. That's going to cost him his gun, and we will not be seeing a skip from Narc today. It was a good attempt, though.
Yeah. It is unfortunate because he was pretty much there. The skip is literally to skip out what's about to approach in this next room. There's a gate with a switch that you can actually use the gun to hit on the bottom left of your screen there. Unfortunately, without carrying the gun through, you have to go up and over. This takes roughly 25 seconds, I believe, give or take.
Yeah, if you do it properly,
it is a good
no major hang-ups.
Indeed. But it is a nice sizable time save if you can get the gun through, but it's a very tricky thing to get all the way through there, because the gun itself, as we say, from the moment you re-pick it up after Mecha Dragon, you can take 3 hits and that's it. After 3 hits, it's gone.
So we got
How's the
some
old
classic-
Mecha going to deal with him?
Yeah, we got some classic Mecha Dragon happening over here. He's going on the side where there is no platforms and ready, and the platforms aren't coming down when Vertz would like to see them to be able to get underneath and maybe tickle that dragon's chin a little bit. He's got plenty of SP, so it's not really a lack of that. He's finally going to get a chance to get a little bit going on here.
He got
Almost
a good
got
amount
him
of
there.
damage there.
Yeah.
Should be okay to finish him off on the next round, hopefully, as long as the platforms play ball. And, Dragon went a bit further. Unfortunately went into his neck, and that's going to be a retry on that fight. That's Mecha Dragon strikes again, unfortunately. He is a bit of a nightmare fight.
Yeah, he really is a pain, and you think you've got him kind of figured out, and then next thing you know, Mecha's gonna say, I got different plans for you on this one here, and that was kind of a classic display of that. Just didn't want to play ball very well.
Yeah, I think I've had in a run before now where Mecha Dragon just killed me like 3 times straight. it was evil. Right. In the meantime, Narc's going to be approaching probably one of my favourite fights to execute in Alpha. So this is the first phase of Alpha. Ideally, you want to be able to time yourself right with the parries to be able to parry his projectiles right back into him, get close in with your sword slashes, using a combination of Rising Fire as well in order to get as much damage as he can. You'll just take that a little safe just to make sure he doesn't get away. Not a bad fight there. But the parry can essentially obliterate the fight, but it's a very, very tough cycle to meet.
I believe each parry return shot does, like 3-4 points of damage on him?
And the parry itself, in and around that,
yeah,
I would say is about that. So, yeah, it's a nice sizable amount of damage, especially when you're getting close. And the thing with the bigger projectiles as well, when you initially parry him, you'll have this big orb of light that will generally be hanging around. If you hit it back straight away, that's where you're going to get the optimal damage. The longer you leave it, the smaller it becomes and the less damage it actually does upon parrying, or upon knocking it back into him. And looks like Vertz nicely finishes off Mecha Dragon there. He'll be going on to deal with his Warriors of Light. And now going to take on Alpha 2, and Alpha angry.
Alpha very angry. So this one's fun.
So
Narc's going to pace himself a little bit in one particular part here coming up. So after these parries that he's done here, this round here, he's got to be careful not to hit that eyeball too soon. If you do, it actually closes the eye and keeps it closed, and you've got to wait for a long time. You miss out on a lot of damage opportunity, but Narc's handling that extremely well, getting his parries in where he needs to, and goodbye Alpha 2.
Yep, nice fight there. The Warriors of Light looking like they're being a little more forgiving for Vertz.
Yeah, they're not getting all
It
spread
can
out.
happen. I was going to say that could be a bit of a problem, but fortunately, they kind of played ball a bit there. I was kind of getting a little away from him now, scattering around him. Just deal with the one in the air there, and nicely done there. Playing that to his advantage. When they're on the ground, they like to block a lot, but there is an actual visual cue when the guard just lowers his sword. It's a good indicator to know when you can actually get a strike in if you're quick enough, and he played that to his advantage, took out the one in the air, and then shuriken the last one. Get that out of the way. Nicely performed.
Yeah, especially since you get your SP back when you collect the items, so not a big loss having to burn the extra there just to be able to make sure that he tightened that one down.
Exactly that, and in the meantime, Narc's got his favourite part, and a lot of favourites for this. We now have the dash. This is where the run becomes into the second half, where this is now a more chaotic run.
Yeah.
So the idea from this point on, with the dash, it has its own SP property as well, being able to do these dashing slashes. And a good thing with the SP, if you happen to destroy an enemy with an SP-powered slash, it'll replace that SP with another SP guaranteed. So, in the right circumstances, you can effectively constantly chain them in order to maintain momentum and keep your SP up to be able to get the most out of it. An unpowered charge slash will end up just doing a small amount of distance, and it will force you to stop running straight away, so you have to re-engage your run.
Yeah.
So, from this point on, SP is more vital than anything in how you manage it.
This is where the run, you like to go fast. Like, you get the dash, you're like, oh yeah, let's go. But the game's kind of ready for you on that front, too. So, as much as you want to go crazy with the dash, you need to learn how to temper it a little bit to make sure. We got Vertz on Vessel Defense here, opting to go with the shield strat, one of the preferred methods, I think, by a lot of the runners, rather than the gun. So far, handling the fight relatively okay. Didn't quite get the one cycle there, but he's also just trying to make sure he doesn't lose the sub-weapon, and he's going to have 2 hits on that, as he's going to begin his trek here shortly to Chapter 5.
Indeed, it is a separate option to go with the E field. It does cost an additional 50 in order to trigger and activate it. However, this does also give the runner more defensive options, as that E field, as long as it's open and active, any projectile that hits will do absolutely nothing. So as long as he plays his cards right and plays his shots at the right moments, he could essentially use it as a defense shield against any projectile up until he gets to his the skip that he's looking for.
Definitely runner's preference. I think some people kind of like shy away from the shield because it does hide a bit of Shadow sprite there, and it's really hard to see where you're at, making some of the jumping and timing for parries and things like that very tricky, I guess you could say. But once you get used to it, it's not that big a deal.
Indeed, on that, now getting through Chapter 6 pretty nicely, as he now has to deal with the old tunnel cleaner. So he's going to try and follow a pattern in general, using the projectiles there to multi-parry and smack back in to score immense amount of damage. Once you get to a certain part of the script in the fight, he's going to start firing off these bombs that are just showing up now. And you can use them to your advantage by knocking it back into him. And these bombs do heavy damage. Unfortunately, just a strike shy there, so just have to knock another bomb in, and there we go, nicely done.
Yeah, it was a really solid fight from Narc, considering.
Oh, unfortunately for Vertz, losing out on the on his E-field, got a little caught up there, so unfortunately he won't be able to get the skip, but he is still alive, so that should still be okay for him. He ain't gonna have to worry about having to go back to the last checkpoint, because that can be a right pain in the bum.
Yeah, you think that one-tiled gaps would be easy to get through, considering the profile of the character, but you'd be surprised how often, like what happened to Vertz there, would occur if you're trying to get through one. Is he keeps bonking on it, because he does bounce away from the wall when you're jumping off of it, so it more like bonks rather than just lets you right on through, and that unfortunately did get him caught up. Well, taking death right after that checkpoint, not a big deal, since he just hit it, so no time's lost there, and he's going to get more health to work with than he had at the moment, so that's not a bad play.
Indeed, a nice little manipulation. It's also something we use a bit later in the run as well in order to get some health back. So good strategy in there, good train of thought. Not dealing with Chapter 7, the Streets of Rage chapter. At least the music reminded me of Streets of Rage at the start.
Get your cat jams out.
And this could lead to a lot of rage in general. Chapter 7 is considered one of the harder sections to master. I mean, first off, you've got these 2 doors here that you need to take out the snakes, and they decided to put moving platforms over a better spice for the second one. If you'd thought the first one was a little too hard, then help is required for that second one.
Yeah.
But yeah, this chapter can be very unforgiving and unrelenting, as is a lot of the game, as we have spoken. And it doesn't mean the other stuff is easier. It just means the whole game is hard, and we're just trying to make you understand it's just hard. The pain. But either way, he's dealing with the
segment nicely.
Be
proud of that death count. The more you die, the more you learn. Right? Right. Okay.
Yeah, I'll take that. Alright, so Vert's clearing out with Chapter 5 so far. He'll have his little run-in with Alpha. Doesn't have any item comedy, so he's probably going to take a hit intentionally there. Intentionally get his health down to 1 point of health. Pretty much that's because once Alpha gets back up and grabs him, he's going to have to wait otherwise for Alpha to actually crunch his health down to 1 hit a point, or 1 HP hit. From a full bar health, it could be an additional 3 to 4 seconds if you don't tank yourself down. So we do that little manipulation there just to save a couple of seconds of him just hurting us.
We got Narc coming up on the final stretch here of Outskirts. If he moves just right, should be able to get through this pretty smooth. He's got a nice full SP dispenser at his disposal, one he picked up on the way through. He's going to just use the pogo strap there, very smooth.
Yeah, he cleared the second half. He cleared Chapter 7 like it was nothing. And we said it was hard. It still is hard. He's just making it look easy.
Indeed.
Nicely done. And he'll have his second cyber section to unlock the gate he needs to run into someone who's going to make things even beefier. put it that way. Vert's now going to be approaching Alpha for his first matchup with Alpha. So hopefully we'll see how it goes. Picking up the SP dispenser just to give him some additional SP to work with the fight. Nice parry. Using Rising Fire as well, just to help with a bit of an additional damage.
Ooh, parrying one of those shockwaves. That's a really good thing to do sometimes. I don't think a lot of people realize that those shockwaves can be parried as well. It's a chance to get a little bit damage if you get that far with it. He handled that pretty well, considering. Missed a few parries in there, but got through it cleanly. He's got a decent health pool. Could probably afford to take a hit or two as he makes his way to Alpha 2 at this point. Meanwhile, Narc is over there getting his upgrades. He's turning in the Dragon Balls, and instead of wishing for Goku to come back to life, all he's going to be asking for is basically a double jump.
Yeah, what's more worth it, eh?
Yeah, I'd rather have the double jump than Goku alive too, personally, but you know.
Now, the thing is, he does actually do more than just that, but the double jump is just the most vital part that we look for as speed, or that we after as speedrunners. It also allows charging properties to pretty much everything that he's already got. So you can charge up and throw a shuriken, which will actually turn into an explosive kunai. More of an explosive airstrike. You can have a double hit or shadow hit from your dash. As well as just having a general charging slash. But the double jump is the primary thing that we're aiming for here, and then we get into Chapter 8, where the game at this point will pretty much assume that, okay, you've got everything you need, you've learned enough through the past 7 chapters, prepare yourself.
Yeah, but the tendency here is you still want to go fast. Even in my casual playthrough, when I get the music, the way the music kind of like pumped you up and everything, it's just like, oh, I just got all these power-ups. The game wants me to try to go quickly, and I quickly learned that wasn't exactly the smartest thing to do, at least right out of the gate. But it does lend itself well to just spending a lot of time doing these dashes through the air and not even touching the ground, because why would you need to anymore?
Yeah, and that's the vital part with double jump. Otherwise, normally without that double jump, with each dash, you just start gradually going lower and lower. But for every time you connect and take out an enemy with said dash, it replenishes your double jump as well. So as long as you've got a chain of enemies to connect with, you could just infinitely stay in the air and slash through everything.
Narc deciding he didn't want to do the cyber room, exited and had to re-enter.
I don't blame him. This one can be a bit scary, to be fair.
Yeah, this one is quite tricky.
So he'd be looking to activate the bike that he just ran by, goes by the name of Exo. And yeah, Exo's fun. Who doesn't want a talking robotic bike?
A snarky one at that, too.
He's again over nicely taking them out, repositioning to take out the core, and he's good. And Vertz now got his dash in play as he'll enter his second half of the run. And still has his SP dispenser. The SP dispenser is very valuable, especially from the moment you get the dash. Having something that can continuously replenish your SP just opens up a number of other options that you can do that would just basically be impossible without draining your entire resources.
Well, he did have it. Decided to take a little dive in the spikes there in that next room. It was like, well...
I'm sorry. My bad.
I think we're 1 for 1 on curses, because I did curse somebody earlier, so...
Well, to be fair, I did kind of curse you in your race last time, so...
Yeah, I can't wait to
commentate. From commentary.
I can't wait to commentate your race, Turkey, so that I can return the favor.
I'm not even going to get out of Chapter 1, am I?
At any rate, not a lot to talk about for EXO right now. It's kind of like an auto-scroller of sorts, but I like to harken this to like some of the later Contra titles that allowed you some vehicle segments, and riding through that. So I mean, you're obviously in control, but it's I won't say it's a timer at this particular point, but it kind of is. You're at the mercy of the speed of EXO. You've just got to worry about dodging these monsters. But you don't have to kill them all. Like, a lot of these robots can be left alone if you just want to rather have a different challenge and dodge everything. Certainly well within your means to do so, except for maybe these biker guys who just want to hang around and shoot you. But Narc's just out for a nice little cruise, and he's still got an SP dispenser as well. If he can maintain that here shortly, he might get a few presents from it. Interesting.
To be honest, I'm a little confused by that, because I've seen before that if you've only got 1 unit left, it doesn't do that, funnily enough. Although I've also seen it do it when I've only got 1 unit of hit left, so I don't know exactly what triggers it, but...
Yeah, it's just interesting because not many people have an SP dispenser that far out of the run. So the first time I saw it, I was like, "Is that giving money?" It is giving essence. Like, really? That's interesting. But we'll see if Narc's gonna actually get some presents here. He's got a little ways to go before we're gonna find that out here. Got Vertz look like he's handling chapter 6 or 6, 5. Oh, 6. I'm right.
6.
Correctly so far. And then I had to say that, and he takes another spike damage.
Should we just leave?
I'm beginning to think that the runners
would
would both appreciate it if maybe we just shut up for a minute.
We're not making this making their lives any easier, it seems.
Oof.
Yeah, unfortunately, getting caught in a bit of a death cycle. This is something that can just happen in general with Cyber Shadow, where one death could lead to 2, could lead to 3. Unfortunately, hopefully you'll be able to get by it and just put it into the past, move forward. Just on the final stretch now.
Oh, those saw blades are the worst. Yeah, that saw blade is the most painful thing.
Indeed, indeed, that saw blade can rip your health in an instant. It would be nice if we could just throw a lasso around it and use the ultimate swag blade, but can't win them all, unfortunately.
It'll be DLC.
So Narc dealing with the mech section, a nice section throughout. You just tank through a lot of stuff if you know where and how to manipulate your health. But you've got ourselves a little mini boss here in the form of a giant ship. Pretty much, the ship will always go into the same spots as long as you always go to the same spots. So you can easily manipulate him to go exactly where you want him, and then just pump him full of lead, and down he goes.
And use him as a nice little platform to get it on your way. All right, Vert made it through chapter 6. He's now going to have a date with the old tunnel cleaner here. We'll see how this fight goes for him. Again, very similar script. It's going to be all about those parries, getting those projectile damages in whenever possible. Just set up for those bombs to really kind of like put in the big hits.
Indeed.
Narc's just over there taking damage left and right, but doesn't seem too scared about it.
Yeah, he's pretty much just approaching the final bit of the Exo segment, and Exo can have a bit of a break now and just go relax off to the side. Or at least that's going to be my interpretation of the events. So nice manip there, doing a double destruction of the bombs. Get the bomb in. Oh, just one shot away now for Vertz.
1
nicely
HP.
Done.
The battle of the 1
held it
HP
in
there.
clutch. Nice one there.
Yeah, good job, Vertz, on that one. That's super scary when you get down to that one, because you know you need it, but you need that eyeball to open, and it's just sitting there closed. And you're like, please, please, please open up.
And he'll be approaching his Streets of Rage momentarily.
Yeah, FXO in chat.
No, not Exo.
All right, Narc is going to wisely take a restart here, like hit the save point, reload, just to get more health rather than try to YOLO with the 1 HP that he's left with. This is probably one of the more difficult segments of the run right here. This run through now, post-XO, is brutal. The game wants to kill you, and it has many creative ways to do so. But we'll see about keeping, patterns. Narc's got a very, very interesting and very consistent method he's cooked up here. This room, let's see if he gets this one here. This room specifically is very deadly. Got hung up there a little bit and ate a bomb for it. Yep, that threw him off. Oh.
Yeah, we mentioned before, through the course of the run, literally, anything that knocks you off track can effectively disrupt your pathway and could make the run completely chaotic. This is probably the biggest example of it, or one of the biggest examples of it. As long as you get your methods correctly, there is a multiple ways of approach in order to get the manipulation that you're looking for. But as soon as one thing just doesn't quite fit, it can become pretty crazy to the point where there's a good chance you may take a death. This time not getting his pattern.
Yeah, he got his method there. Yeah, so he's out of there. At least the infamous death cycle room done. Now it's gonna be almost smooth sailing. I like to say that, but things can still happen here. But for the most part, this is a lot less scary in that prior room.
In the meantime, Vert's trying to get rid of this second snack door. Nicely done. Very scary to deal with them, especially when you're above a bed of spikes and moving platforms. With a head that just likes to go wherever it pleases. You start to approach it, you go to hit it, and then it just goes, no, I'm going to go up this way.
It's actually programmed to stay as far away from you as possible because it knows your sword's going to hit it. I like to call those the contra walls, though. Like this, like these are like the mini ones, but that guy with the eyeball is. I always compare it to some things out of like Contra.
Yeah, I could see that. Right, so into the sewers or the mines with Vertz. Just going to follow the pathway around. Just use a couple of intentional slashes just to get over a couple of the enemies. Pick up a bit of SP as he goes. Gets nicely across the bed of fields and executed that room without any issues, no problem.
Big scary thing about this is those larger green bubbles. The one he just exposed the explosive skulls from. Those are like the real danger here. Like the flies are annoying, but it's really those skulls that are like the annoying piece that you've got to watch out for. They do a lot of damage if they explode on you. It's just bad, and these things are quick. Like you think you can outrun them, but then they go, you're not, you don't have speed, I'm afraid, and they come up behind you so fast.
Yeah, and very wisely taking them out whilst he could, rather than taking the chance of having them potentially ruining his day. Yeah. As Norris says, it can be quite a handful as Narc enters Chapter 9. One of the shorter chapters, yet still not an easy one to execute. So the docks can be quite the pain at times when it wants to be. Again, like throughout everything else, once one thing falls, a lot of things fall when you're in each rooms. But first he's got to deal with 2 lockout rooms, so he's going to be put into 2 force fights. One with something that looks quite familiar to the tank from Chapter 3, except we've only got one part of it at least, thankfully. Followed by the other part of the tanks in the forms of these turrets. A couple of purple goos and just wipe them down, and yep, that'll do him. And he's out, getting to the checkpoint next. And back to using the SP dash to his advantage, making sure to take out certain enemies to keep his SP pool up to the standard that he's looking for. And then rising fire up and out. Coming to the last part of Chapter 9. Well, I say the last part of Chapter 9. The last part of Chapter 9 where I would be like quite happy, and then it becomes the boat.
Yeah. Auto-scroller, the other boss, basically, at this particular point. Should be pretty safe getting through here, yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I thought our days with the boat were done when we was doing Risky's Revenge.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, this boat's a little bit different. So, I know in my casual playthrough, I died here quite a few times. And it wasn't even me, like, trying to go for the feet. But, once you kind of learn that this air dash is, like, your friend, you can start getting these guys out of the way before they become a big problem. Like, the purple guys, they leave their jetpacks explode, and they leave, like, burning fuel on the deck. So it starts to eat up valuable real estate for you to operate in. Narc is right now kind of demonstrating the best method, giving yourself plenty of room to work with here as he's taking them out one at a time, and you're always going to get your SP back, so you don't necessarily have to worry about running out of it. I think the biggest concern here is just try not to hit anything at max range of your dash where you're not going to carry through it, because that will kill your momentum and thusly probably take you off the side of the boat and you'll die. So you obviously don't want to do that. But our biggest challenge with this boat is whether this is going to be a long or a short boat. And if you want to help out Narc, start posting long boat now. But if you want to troll Narc, start putting short boat in chat.
Wait, what?
maybe we'll have a little bit of a vote here.
You put them the wrong way round, didn't you?
No, I didn't. I'm telling you, Kyle Berry is onto something here. Kyle Berry, being one of our newest runners, has found out that if you're chanting long boat while you're on the boat, it'll give you a short one. See, Narc did not chant long boat. So now he's waiting a lot. We don't know why that happens, by the way. We don't know the driver of what constitutes a long cut scene while you're waiting for the boat ride to end, and what makes it short.
Yeah, to be fair, Narc does have a theory which I think could hold something, but I think it's literally down to the last enemy. If you could literally hit him just as he enters the screen, it might be somewhat consistent of a quick vote, but need to do a little more experimentation. to really determine whether or not that is. It probably isn't. I don't know, but it's a thing. Either way, dealing with Chapter 10, and Chapter 10 doesn't pull no punches as he goes straight into a boss with Combinatron, and he's dead.
Yeah. No, Narc handled that extremely well. That boss can be a pain. If you don't manage your damage properly, he goes into a healing phase, and that if he starts doing that, you're probably dead with the way that things go.
At that point, it's probably better off just to take an intentional death, because either way you try and deal damage to him, he just constantly heals over and over again because his health is just that low, which is a bit of a pain. This chapter's rough. This one here, death cycling can become a thing. Narc's got a very healthy SP dispenser, though, still going. Obviously, he bought that for the Combinatron fight, just to make sure that he had a lot of DPS output here. But so far, he's not making... I don't want to say it. I can't. I'm afraid of jinxing him. Yeah, so far it's been... I will just say that it's been a very good Chapter 10 so far, and that's all I'm going to say. As he's basically making his way through these high aerial places. You'll notice these enemies are placed in such a way that you basically have to do these dashes. If you don't want to do the dashes, you've got to wait for some extremely slow pieces of conveyance in these moving platforms that you can engage, but they are extremely slow. So it's quicker to do what Narc's doing by far, and right now he's putting on a pretty good display of what a good Chapter 10 should look like. And in the meantime, Vertz dealing with his Chapter 8 after meeting up with the Dragon Master, and also trading in the Dragon Balls for a double jump. Just make sure to get that checkpoint, very important. Last thing you want to do is just have a fumble right at the last moment here and have to go back to the start of the chapter. Gets through no problems there. He'll be making his way for his cyber segment and be able to trigger off Exo, and onto the auto-scroller he will be.
And Narc has just finished his mode through Chapter 10. He'll be off to the final boss of this area, or Chapter 9. 10? Final boss of the area here. Looks like he's employed kind of the Firebird strats on this particular boss now. Spider Rail is quite an interesting one. There's a definite good strat with this. It's a little hard to get down because the timing has to be pretty tight in order to kind of keep the eyeball open to a point where you wouldn't have to deal with quite as much as we're seeing here. So things got a little out of control, I think, for Narc, but he's comfortable with it. Gave that thing his onion rings back and said, you know what, no sir, I didn't order these, I ordered fries, can we move on with that? And did. And it gets and rewarded with a slow elevator.
Damn, and that's unfortunately a little bit of RNG there as well. Not quite sure exactly what triggers it. I think it might have something to do with the start of Chapter 10 itself, but I'm just guessing, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
But there are two ways of dealing with Spider Rail, and the main key is to get to the midpoint of the fight and have him lock his eye out, which can be, as Noy said, very awkward to pull off. But speaking of awkward, welcome to the climb. So the climb itself is absolutely cruel. And this is even more of a pinnacle when we say, when one thing goes wrong, everything becomes as chaotic. This is as chaotic as it gets. Because then all the enemy positions, they just swarm you. They just constantly fire projectiles at you. You can't breathe. But it's mainly with just this first room. The other two rooms after this are much more relaxed. But, unfortunately, just got a little caught there. Luckily, he's pretty much at the top. Just has to get through that door. Nicely done.
Yeah, Narc's opting very smartly on that one when things got really out of hand on his first attempt to just go out of the room, reset the cycle, and try again. You could try to make it up there in a much slower fashion, but most likely once things start swarming you, you're going to probably take a death, and it's just quicker to maybe try to do that like he did there. But successfully made his climb here. We're going up into our final trilogy of bosses.
Yep, just like with the Swag Blade, I like to see this as a bit of a throwback to Ninja Gaiden as well, where the final set of bosses is locked behind 3 of them. So there's 3 bosses to deal with, or 3 different phases. First one is the Return of Apparator. Narc is having to employ a bit of a different strategy to normal. Unfortunately, he entered the fight with 0 SP. The SP dispenser will give him some back, but you ideally want to at least have full SP and an SP dispenser with you, or at least a couple of SP, so the SP dispenser will charge you up just before the fight begins. But he's recovered that nicely, and we'll take on the final fight now. 2 forms for this one, in the form of Dr. Progen and the Progenitor. So Yeah, pretty much he keeps himself locked in. You have to hit it to get it reopened, and every time you hit it, in general, it gives you a little bit of a knockback. Ideally, you want to manipulate it in such a way that you get one of the flames in a position so you can use the parry technique in order to knock the flames back. But that is a very risky strategy to take. Narc opted in for a more safer approach, pretty much manipulating it so it's going to stay out of his way, so he can cause as much damage as he can as he deals with Progen 3. Or Progen 2, or the final fight of the game. Idea is to get those first two orbs exposed out. The blue one will give him a shield. The red one will actually give him like a beam that he can use to attack with. And intentionally leaves the right one alone. This is so he can use it to get high enough and time it in such a way that you could at least score a good 2 to 3 strikes a time to get his health down even quicker. So far so good for Narc there. Only a couple of strikes out.
He just lost his SP dispenser there, but that's not a big deal. And he leaves those things in the ground just to use his pogo points, which if the green one does bust out early and you're not done with him, it gives you a chance to still get up there instead of waiting for either the green platforms to spawn from the green orb. That was a really good, well-handled fight by Narc there at the end, even though he lost kind of some cycles there, but otherwise... well handled. I mean, not dying, very important.
That weren't a bad execution of the fight. Sometimes it can get a little out of hand. Fortunately, good control. Even if you lose a bit of time, will keep you alive and keep you to be able to save it. Because a death there, again, you have to restart all 3 fights at the same time, and that is something you really don't want to see. So Narc is pretty much done. He's just got to get the master out of her cell, then he'll be good to move on. In the meantime, Vertz now dealing with his big battleship in the air with good old Exo. Again, manipulating the positioning so he knows exactly where he's going to, where the ship is going to spawn out. And just pump him full of lead, and down he goes. Nicely done.
Right, so Narc's just got to avoid the final boss, which is actually soft locking the game here. Shouldn't be a problem since he doesn't have like a whole lot of SP to work with. But he's got to be very mindful of that.
Yeah, there's a weird thing with the last box. You need to hit 4 switches in order to open the cell to the master, followed by 1 more after. If you happen to hit 2 of these 4 switches at the same time, yeah, this exposing of the final switch does not happen. She just stays locked in, and that is going to be time for SpaceNarc, and that is a GG on his front. So congratulations to him as he will advance to round 2, and I believe awaiting him is going to be Minister Brongo.
Yeah, Mini Sabrango, I believe, will be his opponent in the next phase for that. So look forward to that race in coming week or so. Good time by Narc. We have an official GG speedruns time of 1 hour and 1 hour and 16 seconds. Sorry.
I was going to say 16 minutes.
Yeah, not 16 minutes, 16 seconds. Yes, 1 hour, 16 seconds is his official time.
A very impressive time. Just missing out on a sub-hour pace. Not an easy time to hit. Just over an hour. A very impressive time to pull off. And only suffering 2 deaths in his run as well. So nicely performed there for SpaceNarc. And he will get his just rewards in the second round on the winner's side. Unfortunately, Vertz will drop to the lower side, but he's still got a run to finish. So let's get behind him and let's help him through to the end. Let you guys help it to the end, because me and Nori's not been doing a very good job of that with the commentary side. We keep jinxing him. So
yeah,
save Vertz from the demons that is Turkey and Nori. These guys, so he's going to be coming on to the danger room, as I'm going to start calling it now. Probably one of the more common rooms where a death cycle could incur. So Vertz will be looking to manipulate it in a certain way to help him out. Unfortunately, getting a knockback there will have to be attempted.
At least you don't lose out on the SP dispenser. It'll always be there, and it's a big help in this part.
Very true. Throughout the remainder of Chapter 8, having that SP dispenser is very valuable. It allows you a number of options that pretty much you may not be able to go for if you do not. Because if the SP just doesn't drop, then there's certain things you've got to take slower.
Definitely. Hey, Narc, thank you for joining us. Welcome, and GG's.
Oh, thank you.
It was a very, very solid run with only 2 deaths in a race format, man. That was quite impressive.
I was pretty satisfied with it, but I was fighting my controller at one point.
Uh-oh.
Might have noticed me talking to some stuff that I probably shouldn't have.
Oh, Death Room
Force you
strikes
getting
again
caught
there
up
at the
there.
end. Yeah, if you hesitate too long, all these green heads will start to swarm you. Plus, you've got the buzzsaw to worry about, and things just if you don't keep moving, it's going to deteriorate fast, unfortunately. But I believe in Vertz; he can do this.
Yeah, maybe this is one of the more dangerous sections to progress forward through, and it can just be hellacious. If you get caught in a death cycle here, it can be very painful. Hopefully that will pretty much be the gist of it for him. And he's looking to take a smart approach there. Intentionally going to take out the saw blade early, so he doesn't have to worry about that. It's going to give him more control and more timing on his part to go for.
Yeah, it basically takes out like the biggest hazard. I mean, there's still a lot that can happen here, but not having to worry about a saw blade coming around and snacking you in the face for 4 points of damage, that's actually a very smart play. When you're not feeling like you could just get it through, at least in the quicker path there. Plus, killing the saw blade is worth a lot of health, actually. I think he drops you like 4 HP, so it's nice of him to do that.
Yeah, it's not every day that saw blade does a nice thing. We'll take it.
Oh, the sneak around with the bombs there, I like it.
Nice. Yeah, he's going to drop down now, just take out that enemy, make sure not to fall into the spikes. Yeah, he gets up and around. I'm going to wait out that laser. I mean, this room especially is one of those rooms you really do not want to trigger the saw blade on in the security systems, because it gets hellacious.
Yeah, very much so. So Narc, now that you're here with us, any big thoughts in regards to how the race? I mean, obviously you're very happy with the time, 2 deaths only. That's really good. But where was the controller giving you issues, and how'd you get around it?
So, like anyone who's watched my stream recently knows that I talk about my the up on my D-pad sticking, so I accidentally throw shurikens sometimes. And that did happen, but it didn't really give me a lot of problem in this race. But once I got to like the start of Chapter 8, where you meet EXO there, I like if it's stuck pointing up and I walk by like a checkpoint or anything you can talk to, it'll automatically talk to it. So I automatically talked to the screen when I went down, and then it just stayed stuck for a little bit.
At a shop, no. Yeah, I know that like the shuriken thing has been a thing for a bit, but didn't think about the other aspects of that.
Did the fly survive the shuriken? I'm just taking an educated guess.
At this point, I wasn't this time I wasn't bullseyeing flies with the shurikens, or fortunately or unfortunately, I guess.
Yeah, but all in all, though, I mean, yeah, as Nori mentioned, only taking 2 deaths is very impressive in the course of this run, especially the magnitude of this difficulty. Just over an hour, very respectable time. Not many runners have been able to score a time like that at this point. I'm sure a bunch will do at some point, so got to be happy with your opener, I would have thought. Not too far off your PB as well, so it's a great start for you for sure. And, well, you get to advance to round 2 to meet with Sabrango, so how's your preparations going to be for the second match, would you reckon?
I'm definitely going to be trying to add more, well, first, more consistency. I'd like to go, like, just try to get the strats that I do know off with a lot more consistency so I can get closer to my PB with each run. But I do want to try to learn some more faster stuff for that, because Sabrango's not going to be easy to beat at all. I think me and him have PBs that are about 13 seconds apart, so it should be a really interesting race.
Yeah, yep, I believe that as well. I believe he's somewhere in the mid-58s, entering this tournament as the number 4 seed. And we'll be matched up with the number 5 seed in SpaceNarc. And as I say, both PBs are very close. That should promise to be a pretty interesting race for sure. Guys, in the meantime, Vertz having to deal with Chapter 8. Dealing with another very tough section to get through. There's a lot of things that go around. Pretty much from Chapter 8 onwards is when it really becomes even more hellacious. And I know I've said that like 3 or 4 times, but it's just true.
it's just Cyber Shadow in a nutshell. I mean, what else can you say about it? And you know, unfortunately, Vertz has eaten a few death cycles, but he's persevering and he's getting through it. See here if this deadly room right here. Look at these pogo strats. That's very well done when you're out of SP. But gets stonewalled by the shooter.
It was great thinking for having no SP, and it nearly paid off. Unfortunately, one of the enemies had a different idea. So we're going to have to re-go back here. We're sure he'll get through without much hassle this time round. We're going to back him. Let's get it through. Oh, I'm going to shut up now. I'm really not helping. I'm so sorry.
We've done enough commentators cursing for one match, Turkey, I think. Sorry about that, Mecha Dragon, SpaceNarc. That was my fault.
What would be the 4 cycle that really shouldn't have been a 4 cycle?
Yes. Yeah, the 4 cycle that shouldn't have been.
Just miss. What is going on?
If they let me back on commentary, then there's probably going to be a few questions. Slightly worrying because I did offer to do commentary. For
I was going to say, didn't you just sign up for like the upcoming 2?
I did. I have a feeling Strider might be pulling me aside for that. might be questioning whether or not we should. I don't blame him.
Okay, I like what Vertz did there. There's some secret health up there that's a little hidden, and knowing your backups is very important here. It's going to be also using the kunai to explode that. That's something that a lot of people didn't realize that the kunai could do, was actually explode those pipes without having to hit the actual trigger point there. So making some headway here. Almost to the docks. He's only got this room to get through, which is not too bad, especially when he stopped for the additional health. That should be enough for him. I say that,
yeah.
And then we've got the little purple jerks here, so who knows? Okay, we're good.
He's up and good. Be entering the docks momentarily. We enter Chapter 9, and again, as mentioned, it is one of the shorter chapters of the run, but it's also one of those ones that could easily kill you in an instant. As we saw Knock earlier, Vertz will hopefully go for the same, because you're trying to stay on the air, landing on the platforms where necessary, because the waters are completely full of mines, and falling in the water can lead to some extreme pain.
Yeah, those mines hurt, and they swarm you very quickly.
Getting through very nicely there. Just cutting through. Unfortunately, he's run out of SPs. He's going to have to probably just take a different approach here. Very nicely done.
It very well. Yeah, that's one of the scarier parts without SP, just because sometimes things don't go well. There's a mine right there just waiting for you, too, if you just happen to take a little dip there. So, well handled so far by Vertz. Let's see how he gets through the second lock room here. First room was handled very well.
Yeah, using the airstrike to his advantage to take out those turrets quickly and effectively. Going to take... hello, going to take the charge blaster, right? So this is new for me. I'm not too sure what he's going to go for here, so I'll be interested to see what he's going for. I mean, the charge blaster, usually we wouldn't... Oh, I'm not seeing it be picked up at this point, so...
I'm hoping he didn't think... I'm wondering if maybe he was hoping that was going to be an SP dispenser, and then it was already too late because he menued it.
I have no idea. It looks like he's going to take an intentional death and go back, or is it? No. Okay.
He's just going to pick a little farming SP here, but that gunner has that homing gunner. Gotta hate that bullet. It follows you way more than it should, but it's very good at what it does. But no, he farmed up some SP there just so he had a little bit more to work with, and it's working out to his favor now. He's definitely going to push on through here a little bit. I'll have to ask about the gun here. I'm not sure if that was a mistake or not.
It very well could have been, but I don't know. I mean, the gun...
The only thing that I worry about with that is the amount that costs, and like the end of the run coming is like... Hopefully... he's got some backups for it. I've seen him kind of pick up some additional like essence along the way. So, I mean, if it was a mistake, he at least has some backups in regards to getting his money back for what he probably wants, at least for the end here. Oh wow, I
And
like
some
that
nice
strat.
back and forth there, just to absolutely demolish that orb on the boat there.
They just styled on that one a little bit. I think that's the dance ritual you need for a short boat.
Well,
Speaking of
using the
boats,
gun,
Mark.
using the gun to take out
Yeah.
the aerial guy there. Nicely done. I can imagine the gun actually being quite useful for Combinatron as well, to be honest. You spend a good amount of time pogoing with him, multitasking with your slashes. The gun could very well do quite some damage to him.
That's possible. Unfortunately, we won't find out on this one. He's kind of lost it at this point here, but again, it got him through, and yeah, I mean, I can see why you'd want it at least for the boat segment for sure. So that might be intentional routing, actually, by Vertz. So, Narc, were you chanting slow boat or long boat or anything like that when you did the boat? Did you chant at all?
I was doing more of my experimenting, where now I think the boat might have to do with whereabouts the last guy is killed above the boat. But yeah, got a long boat, called a short boat, so maybe that was why.
Maybe. we tried to help you in chat, or well, we put it up for the chat to determine what you got, because I said if you want to troll Narc, you say short boat or fast boat. If you don't, then you say long, and unfortunately it looks like short boat won, and you got the long one. It's okay, equal footing. Unfortunately, Vert also had to wait as well.
Yeah, I think Narc's theory on the boat potentially for fast boat could actually be somewhat true. So I did try it in one or two of my practice runs earlier, and I got fast boat as well. So it might just be on how realistically how quick you take the I nearly swore there. How quick you take the last guy out. So I mean, obviously, it's worth experimenting on. If we can make that consistent, that's the difference between a long boat and slow boat is effectively about 10 seconds. So if that's something we can actually manipulate, that would be great.
So we got Vertz here basically ruining Combinatron's future as a masseur, taking out the hands here. So if you don't want Combinatron to heal himself, that is how you do it. You basically just narc out those hands, and he's pretty much at the mercy here. You can still do damage with them, like the clapping there that he just did, but beyond that, he's not going to be able to regenerate. But yeah, unfortunately, Combinatron will not be able to get that massage degree, and goes down crying for it.
Well, that's my night ruined. I was booked in for later. Oh well, never mind.
Alright, so now we're going to come up to the scary part here. He's going to go ahead and purchase the SP refill. Obviously, not having an SP dispenser, the right thing to do, especially when he has no SP coming in here. Only way to be able to at least get some things rolling here. I'm sure he's got some more extra money routing in place shortly.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that was a clutch save. You gotta love that.
Yeah, chapter 10 is very tight, very specific in your movement, especially when there's a lot of bottomless pits and a lot of danger. Nice juggle there to keep himself in the field.
Yeah, these pogos are coming in very strong for him right now. Does not have any money to purchase any SP here, so this will be an SP list. Let's see how he wants to try to use this. Oh, he went for the backup strat there, but unfortunately the down strike didn't hit the little turret. There we go. Gets a second
there we
try.
go. As it turns out, you can actually go up and over the top of them, which a few of us didn't know for a while, at least. I remember seeing it for the first time. I was like, "Hey, wait, that's a thing." Okay.
Yeah,
well,
I just saw that for the first time late last week, I think, and I was kind of like questioning. I was like, "Wait, you can actually do that?" Yeah, there is no ceiling above those little tiles there. So if you're out of SP, this is 100% a strat that you can do that'll get you through that room at a relatively good clip.
And this time got through with SP and cleared that room very nicely. Just going to go across this one. So pretty much SP is we say it's a mandatory thing in general, mainly so we can just fly across. If you have to take the intended platform, they are stupidly slow. And they take forever to cross the gap that you need, so SP is pretty much a requirement for the most part of this chapter.
Yeah, the game expects you to be able to do a lot of these long distance dashes and be able to chain through enemies to be able to stay up in the air. So it definitely comes to help, especially, you know, in a case like this where, you know, we've got Vertz at a very big money shortage. Still, he's kind of made it back up to at least what he needs for the final fight, but he won't be able to purchase anything beyond that. Oh no! Ugh, that snake room is the worst.
Yeah, unfortunately taking them not back there. I mean, part of classic gaming design where anything you get hit by just knocks you back. If there's a pit there, well, sorry, you're going for a dive. Quite a trope with the old games of the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah, very much so.
It's resetting the room so he's got the cycle that he's familiar with. Gets through nicely. He'll just be coming up to approaching Spider Rail very soon.
Just got this gauntlet here to get through first, which generally isn't terrible, but if you let things get out of hand a little bit here, it gets to hurt.
Yeah,
he's managing these wall monsters well though, so he should be fine here.
Yeah, it's not too bad to deal with, but if you just think, oh, it's not so bad, and then you start to just get a little like laid back about it, that's when you get sniped.
Yeah.
And they're taking the extra money above Spider Rail, you'll at least be able to get either the SP replacement or the SP dispenser at the end of the run.
Also got some really nice SP drops right going in, so that'll kind of help things. He's going to use a few kunai here just to kind of help penetrate this armor, get a little bit of damage in where he can.
Yeah, using the explosive kunai when Spider Rail's eye is closed, the explosive effect will still hit. Using the charged up parry there, that's the added addition for the charge aspect of parrying. It essentially will turn all of those bullets into homing bullets, and they'll just all home into the target, to whatever target is either near or whatever target is available.
Clean fight. Good job.
Yeah, nice clean fight. And
also rewarded with a nice, long, slow elevator.
Yeah, still want to figure out what triggers what with that door, to be fair. Or maybe a nice patch just so it is always in the same position every time would be nice, but of course time will tell. We've still got 1.04 to come up at some point.
Yeah, let's get hype for the climb. Let's give Vertz our energy here and help him make this final ascension.
He gets back up and on. There's a couple of enemies just getting in the way, taking advantage of the one there to get right across the field.
Yeah, I don't really talk about these purple like flying heads here. They are probably like the scariest enemy of everything in this game, just because they're programmed so well to kind of lead where you're going. They predict your movement, they follow that, and then they just find themselves in your path in like the most inopportune ways possible. Well handled there by Vertz, you know, letting them gather up, but he kind of used that to his advantage. Oh, careful, don't want to fall. Not that this one's a deadly room, but can be if he takes too many projectile hits, so. He's looking for a little bit of health, and unfortunately the health is a little bit higher here. There is some safety health to be picked up, but it's in the higher lanterns. Right now, just kind of recycling the room every time the cycles don't come together. Careful here. Ooh, scary. Speaking of safety health,
nice swipe there, gets a bit of health there. Just going to make the final ascent now to the final trio of fights. Yeah, switching platforms, good call.
Made it.
And in he goes, gets the SP dispenser. Oh, taking a couple of hits, unfortunately. So he's going to have 1 point of damage for this fight going forward for the SP dispenser. So first up with the apparate.
It's going to be taking this just a little bit less aggressive, trying to avoid taking the hit on the SP dispenser if you can avoid it until this part. Don't blame him on that.
Yeah, he also taken a couple of hits prior to the fight, meaning his health's going to start lower, so just playing it a bit safe, just to make sure he gets through. Gets him before he leaves the field, though, so nicely done there.
Yeah, get dunked on Operator there with a nice down strike before he charged off the screen. That was very, very nice.
Where
Just a little
do you think
styling
you're
on this guy.
going?
To be fair, Operator deserves to be styled on a little bit.
Fair point. Alright, down to Progen. Progen 1. Again, he's going to stay encased in the center. Having to hit that shield every so often to make sure it exposes. Fortunately, you do take a knockback effect as a result.
Yeah, that
But gets him
knockback
down
effect
nicely
killed
there.
me more. Good kill, good kill. One more phase, let's go.
Right, again, taking out the first two orbs, the bottom and left. Get those two abilities available to him as soon as possible. And we're going to leave the last one there to manipulate his height so he can score additional damage.
Gets the purple orb, uses it to clear off one side just to give him a little bit of extra place for footwork. It's not too bad of a strat if you're not 100% confident in your movement right here.
Indeed, that red thing will just obliterate any spikes on the floor, and that first part of that particular phase, when the spikes start to appear, covers most of the ground, so you're mainly left with the very small center third of the arena. So sacrificing one of those strikes just to give yourself more room is a worthy call, and down goes Progenitor. So he is practically done now. That is GG's on his end. Just have to get the master released, and he'll be home free.
Yeah, pre-G's for Vertz as he'll be beginning his descent here for a little bit of celebratory waifu saving time.
It's a nice relaxing fall from space.
So while he's finishing up here, Narc, you got any additional thoughts around your race in general? I mean, kind of take us through it, while we're waiting for things to finish there.
It was I was saying, like, if I started out strong, that I'd be feeling pretty good through the rest of the run, and I definitely did that. I started out the way I wanted to. And I didn't get the top cycle, though, in Chapter 1, and I didn't even really go for the cycle skip in the next room. But then when my Parador fight was really good, that was really good for me anyway. Still got a sub 5 minute on that, so I was feeling pretty good, and I think that helped not make more mistakes for as long as I did.
Question from chat: did you listen to Yoshi's Island music on the elevator? I believe you did.
I listened to elevator music on the elevator.
You listened to elevator music on the elevator. Well, both
Yeah.
of them actually. Did you play it for the slow elevator you got as well?
I did.
All right, we got Vertz clocking in with a 1 hour 25:48 officially from Racetime GG. So get your GGs in chat, everyone.
And yep, that is a GG on the front. Timer on our screen stopping at 1:25:44. And well, that's a race. So congrats to both runners in. As mentioned, unfortunately, Vertz will be dropping to the losers bracket, or as me and Nori tend to call it from time to time, the second chance bracket. His opponent there is yet to be determined. Once the first round is complete, the round 2 matches will take place, and anyone that loses in the second round will drop into that bracket with the people who lost in round 1 to make those matchups in effect. So we'll have to wait for Vert's opponent. Otherwise than that, we've got SpaceNarc who will be meeting up with Minister Brango in round 2 from the winner's side. So yeah, we'll have to look forward to them when they up and come, and I guess we'll see if Vertz would like to join us for a bit of commentary.
Do see him. There we go. Okay. Hey, welcome, Vertz.
Hey, thank you.
GG's.
Thanks. It felt pretty rough. I was saying in the Racetime GG chat that I've had a big string of like really big PBs recently, and so I feel like it was kind of bound to have like a rough run at some point, and sure enough, here it was.
To be fair, you could probably blame me and Nori for that. We kind of did some commentary cursing a bit too much in that one. Feel a bit bad. I've never had it that bad before.
At least we were equal opportunity. I mean, you know, we cursed Narc about as much as we cursed you, so.
Perfect. There you go.
Yeah, congratulations anyway. But I say it's a decent run. Fortunately, it won't get you through to the next round, but you still got the second chance in. Was one question I did want to ask. We did want to ask in Chapter 9 with the gun. Was curious what the thought process was on that, or was that an accident?
That was a missed press on the controller. I wanted to tap left to get the spirit upgrade because I had no SP going into that next string, and just my brain just turned off and tapped right and accepted it. And I was like, oh well. I don't even know what upgrade this is here. I saw it with the gun, and I was like, well, that's pretty terrible.
Well, you had a second guessing as to thinking it might have been intentional, because you had that going into the boat, and we were like, hey, this actually would be pretty good to have against the flying guys. So,
I started using it on them, and I was like, okay, maybe this is good. And I was like, nah, it's not worth it. It's dumb.
No, it could prove some use with Combinatron, to be fair, but
potentially.
We must say it's something we hadn't said before, so it was kind of second guessing on that. But the game is still young, so there are still new methods and strats that are being employed. In all fairness, just seeing that the gun's there, I might be curious just to check one or two things on that myself, to be honest.
Yeah, I had zero clue that it was there, so getting it was a surprise.
Fair enough.
But yeah, but you've done yourself well today, so all is good. Unfortunately, you took a few deaths as we went through, but as we all know, it's Cyber Shadow. It just happens.
It's hard. Yeah, I was kind of bummed out about my return to Mekacity split, because that's been feeling a lot better, but it was just a hot mess today. But so it goes.
Yeah, that's what Cyber Shadow will do what Cyber Shadow will do. Is kind of the unfortunate bit, but looking at the brackets here, it looks like you'll be awaiting to find out who your opponent will be between 2C and Kyle Berry. So that'll be you can look forward to that, but these are two very fast individuals.
Yes. Yeah, I knew going into this tournament, when I signed up for it, I did it basically when it first opened, and I was like, I'll practice this game. And then I did not practice this game until like last week. So I kind of knew I was not setting myself up for success. But hopefully I get a little bit more practice in before I face either of them.
You're taking the old Nori approach. Okay, I respect that.
That's fair enough. With that, I'd probably say, is there any final words from any of you here?
I am good. GG SpaceNarc, well played.
And GG Vertz, major respect, finishing out the run.
Yeah, that's fair. That pretty much will wrap up this matchup. Just to throw a few things out there, if you liked what you saw, please give Strizer a follow, who's hosting the tournament for us. So big thanks to him on that. We do have two other matches that are in schedule for round one. Tomorrow we've actually got a match at 4 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Atlantic between That DJ versus Eric33, which will determine who my opponent's going to be in round two. So I'll be keeping a good eye for that one. And on Saturday, May 15th, 2 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Atlantic, the Big K1 will be going one-on-one with Dean Keto. So another match that should be promising. I know Big K recently PB'd as well, so it's going to be a good match. I believe that'll determine the opponent for Messiah Rambu in the second round. Apart from that, also, if you like what you saw from our respective runners, please show your love and give them support on the show and a follow as well at twitch.tv/SpaceNarc and /Vertz505. And if you happen to like the commentary, despite the fact we were cursing somehow, even though it wasn't on purpose, be sure to follow I'll figure out my English eventually. My co-commentator at twitch.tv/NoriMakiSR, someone I've known for the better part of 5+ years. So definitely
or you can follow my co-commentator TKY619, who's pretty darn good at this game. So either way, if you enjoyed any of those, give everybody a follow for that matter. All definitely Strizer though. I appreciate him organizing this tournament one, and then also hosting and restreaming it as well. It's a lot that he's taking on, and he's doing it pretty much by himself. So GG's to him.
Indeed on that. And I guess for that we will say, hope you had a great night, hope you enjoyed the race, and hopefully we'll see some of you for tomorrow's matchup. And take care and have a good night. So good night.
Night.
Night, everyone.